Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you. Om Gyanatimayandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitanyena Bhutaye Swayam Rupa Kadatmayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunath Tam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhavaitam Savadhutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Haripre Vancha Kalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna. Today we're reading from chapter 3, text 13. So we're going to start with the Sanskrit recitation, then we'll read the translation and purport. Yagna Shista Shina Shanto Muchyate Sarva Kilbisaha Punjate Te Svangam Papa Papa Chantyatma Karanat. Yagna Shistashina Santo Muchyante Sarva Kilbisae Bunjate Te Svangam Papa Ye Pachantyatma Karanat. Yagna Shistashina Santo Muchyante Sarva Kilbishaha Bunjate Te Svangam Papa Ye Pachantyatma Karanat. Yagna Shistashina Santo Muchyante Sarva Kilbisahe Kilbisa Bunjate Te Tvangam Papa Ye Pachantyatma Karanat. Yagna Shistashina Santo Muchyante Sarva Kilbisahe Bunjate Te Tvangam Papa Ye Pachantyatma Karanat. So, not sure if anyone would like to try the recitation out verse, if anyone like. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Yagna Shista Shina Santo Bhuchyante Sarva Kilbise Bunjate Tvet Fangam Papa Ye Pachantyatma Karanat. Okay, so the translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. So the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. And the purport. The devotees of the Supreme Lord are the persons who are in Krishna consciousness, are called Shantas. And they are always in love with the Lord, as it is described in the Brahma Samhita 5:38. Pramanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochena Chanena Shanta Sadeva Hirideyashu Bilokayanti. The Shantas, being always in a compact of love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, the giver of all pleasures, or Mukunda, the giver of liberation, or Krishna, the all-attractive person, cannot accept anything without first offering it to the Supreme Person. Therefore, such devotees always perform yagyas in different modes of devotional service, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam, etc. And these performances of yagyas keep them always aloof from all kinds of contamination, of sinful association in the material world. Others who prepare food for self or sense gratification are not only thieves, but also the eaters of all kinds of sins. How can a person be happy if he is both a thief and sinful? It is not possible. Therefore, in order for people to become happy in all respects, they must be taught to perform the easy process of Sankirtan Yagya in full Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, there can be no peace or happiness in the world. So just a translation one more time. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. Okay, so that sounds like a strong statement that Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport. Those who eat for their own sense enjoyment are thieves and are sinful as well. So why is this the case? Why would they be called a thief and so on like that? So I'm going to refer to this verse, which is in the Sri Upanishad. So this is one of the Vedic scriptures. So this is mantra 1. Isavashyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat jena chakchena bunjita magrihedya kashyasvidhanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So that's the message, is that everything in this world is the Supreme Lord's. So everything in this world is the Lord's energy. So it's mentioned that Krishna has 3 energies, primary energies. So Krishna has unlimited potencies, unlimited energies, but his 3 primary energies are One is his internal energy, which is his spiritual energy. The other is his external energy, which is the material world and the whole cosmic manifestation. And then the other one is what's called as his marginal energy. So that's the living entities. So this material energy is known as Prakriti. And the living entities, which are the marginal energy, they're not the supreme, but they're above the Prakriti. So there's a difference between the living entities and the Prakriti. So can you tell me what is the difference between the living entities and Prakriti? Yes, please. Thank you. Eternal, yes, yeah, yeah, no, that's definitely true, actually, yeah. And but there's one more as well that I'm specifically looking for. Uh, that's true as well. Yeah, the soul, okay. But I'll just mention is that so the difference between Prakriti, the external energy, and the living entities is that they're conscious. So they have the consciousness. That's the difference is that the living entities are conscious, sent more awareness and so on. So in this material nature, it's described that there's 8,400,000 species of life, and 400,000 of those are actually described as different species of human beings. So it's mentioned that, like, for example, some of these as like in the heavenly planets such as Asperas or Gandharvas and so on, they're all described as living entities, or well, human beings. So and then it's mentioned in the scriptures, but there's like aquatics, birds, insects and so on, like that, even the minerals and so on. So there's a gradual process whereby all these living entities will gradually become more refined in their consciousness through this whole progression of these 8,400,000 species. So when we consider this, it's actually the human form of life. It's a very, very rare form of life. And the reason why it's so rare is, so there's another difference between, for example, us and animal life. So I wonder if you can tell me what's the difference between us and animals. Yes. Yes. Yeah, we have a sense of discretion. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. So we have intelligence, higher intelligence. We can differentiate, discriminate. Um, so ultimately, we have more ability to reason. I've heard that animals have a certain amount of ability to reason as well, but not in the same capacity as human beings. Uh, yes, exactly. Yeah, we can do prayers. We can inquire as well. And another thing which is important is, it's Sri Prabhupada mentions as well, is that um, animals, they can't offer gratitude, and we can as well. So that's something which is very important as well. So, for example, when we're considering food stuff, so this is what this verse is about, and that everything is actually the energy of the Lord and so on. So we can actually, by the mercy of the Lord, we can inquire, we can aspire to actually know the purpose of life, and to actually become knowledgeable of the scriptures and so on, so we can have higher knowledge. And so in terms of like animals, there's no discrimination, but still, they have their own, nature, and their own, food stuff and so on that they'll consume. So we can say that in some ways, the animals are sometimes more even like regulated in their eating than human beings, that they'll only take what they need and so on. But so human beings, without actually regulation and what's described as the four principles of religion and so on, well then it's just the same as animal life. So it's actually religious principles and devotional service and so on, which is what actually brings one to human life. So otherwise, Sri Prabhupada describes it's just polished animals actually. So everyone in this material world, they're going on and they're actually basically they're following the same instincts, which are actually still in the actual animal kingdom. So these are the eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So these are just simply the four animal instincts, which human beings have as well. But the thing is that we can actually spiritualize everything. Sri Prabhupada uses the word dovetail. So we can actually dovetail everything for Krishna, and that's the difference. So there's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita in the start of the 6th chapter. So this is 6.1. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anasrita Karma Phalam Karmyam Karma Karotiya Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha Na Niragnirna Chakriya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no duty. So when it's talking about lights no fire, this is traditionally in Vedic culture, in sacrifices and so on, there would be, a fire, like a fire sacrifice and yagya and so on, with all these different sacrifices. But as it's mentioned in the purport, that the performance of sacrifice is actually the Sankirtan Yagya. So this is the process for this day and age. So there's a different type of process. But the point is that actually everything has to be actually offered to the Lord in terms of sacrifice. So and this is the way we can actually become free from material contamination. So in one sense, this is like a vaccine. So in terms of food stuff, the way this material world is set up is that life, every bit of life, is food for another life. So that's the nature of this material world, and naturally, it's a cruel world, and naturally, just to survive, we actually incur sin. So we have to take the life of another living entity, and this is sinful. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 26, Patram puspam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktuparitam asnami prayatatmanaha. So he says that if one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. So Krishna actually states in the Bhagavad Gita, what actually he will accept. So this is a vegetable, primarily a vegetable diet, and of course with dairy and milk products. And so when we actually offer these to Krishna and sacrifice, but the thing is, Krishna doesn't need anything, so it's by his mercy actually that we can offer it. And what Krishna is really looking for, as he mentions in his verse, when one offers me with love and devotion. So really, that's what Krishna is looking for, and that's the process by which we can actually purify ourselves by taking foodstuffs, and then actually become free from any sinful reaction. So Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, Durenya Varam Karma Bhakti Yoga Dhananjaya Bodho Saranam Anvincha Kripa Phala Hetavaha, is that one can keep all abominable activities far distance by Bhakti Yoga, and in such consciousness one can surrender unto me, should surrender unto me. And then he also says, those who want to enjoy the fruits of the work are misers. So this is chapter 2, I think, verse 49 or so. And so that's the thing, is that everyone who actually doesn't offer these to Krishna, they incur sinful reactions, but they're also misers. So they're interested only in their own enjoyment, and it's a symptom of one who is very much associated on the bodily platform of life, which is like, for example, like the animals are very much focused on their own. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Shri Shri Sita Ram Laxman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki. So for example, we all know if there's a dog and there's food, he's only going to be interested in food and nothing else. And so in terms of human beings and the human form of life, we have this opportunity whereby we can actually perform this sacrifice. And as I mentioned, that's the way by which we can actually surrender and become free from this material world. So Krishna says by Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga is the topmost yoga. So it's not just interested in sacrifices for the sake of sacrifices, not just sacrifices even for our own liberation, or our own where we can disentangle from the material world. This is not real devotion actually. So that's the point, is that Krishna just wants actual real devotion, and he just wants our love actually. And that's the way of this material world, is that as I mentioned, this material world is a cruel place. It's a place of dukkhanam and suffering and so on. Matra Spartas Dukanteya Shitosna Sukha Dukkata, is that this material world is a place of suffering. So it's like the summer winter seasons, is that they just come and go, and this is the same as joy and sorrow and so on, is that these will come and go like the winter and summer seasons. But what Krishna actually states in the Bhagavad Gita is that it's not to just, we can't just completely nullify these, but we can actually become absorbed in Krishna consciousness, in something higher, that these things are of like complete insignificance. And there's a verse, for example, I don't know the exact quotation of it, but it's in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which states that one who is simply just endures the results of his sinful reactions, and is completely devoted to serving the Lord and so on, and then one is certainly eligible for liberation. So that's the point, is that in this material world, we can become absorbed in Krishna consciousness. And it's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 18, verse 54. So it's mentioned that Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nakangshati. So it's mentioned that for one who is actually transcendently situated, that the pangs of material existence, they're no longer actually affect him, and in that stage that they actually become joyful and they never desire or lament for anything. So that's one who is actually becomes free from the modes of material nature and the material contamination and so on. But that's only one point, and further on in the verse 10, it mentions that when one achieves such a state, then they attain loving devotional service unto me. So we get that point that Bhakti Yoga is the pinnacle, and it's eternally, or what we're meant to do. It's just natural for spirit souls, is to actually just engage in devotion. And so that's the point, is that all these things, sacrifice and so on, is just simply meant for devotional service. So it's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, text 29. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram srudim sarva bhutanam gnatva mam shantam richyati. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions about the peace formula, that Bhakti Yoga is the peace formula. So I'm just going to read this purport, which will explain it further. The conditioned souls within the clutches of the illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in the material world, but they do not know the formula for peace, which is explained in this part of the Bhagavad Gita. The greatest peace formula is simply this: Lord Krishna is the beneficiary in all human activities. Men should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord, because he is the proprietor of all planets and the demigods thereon. No one is greater than he. He is greater than the greatest of the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. In the Vedas, Setsvatatara Upanishad 6.7, the Supreme Lord is described as Tam Ishvaranam Paramam Maheshwaram. Under the spell of illusion, living entities are trying to be lords of all they survey, but actually they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Unless one understands these bare facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world, either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. So, I'd like to ask if there's any questions so far. Yeah. No. Okay. Thanks. So one thing I'd like to speak a bit more about is in terms of actually becoming free from, this material world and the influence of this material energy. So the thing is that this material energy is just simply too strong for us. We don't stand a chance against the material energy, because material energy is actually ultimately, it comes from goddess Durga, and who is Krishna's servant. So, and this is just simply too strong for us. And without actually devotional service, um, it's just too difficult. So one thing I'd like to mention is in terms of actually the process of Krishna consciousness and what is mentioned in the purport, which is the Sankirtan Yagya. So this is the process for this age, and this is the process which was inaugurated by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the different ages, and that this age is Kali Yuga. So in this age, the process is Harinam Sankirtan. So this is the chanting of the Lord's holy names. And as we mentioned earlier, that every soul is naturally a devotee of the Lord. So it's just that we actually have to reawaken this. So we're just completely covered over, and we're completely in illusion. So even to actually come into the process of Krishna consciousness, even to actually enter into the temple of the Lord, we actually have to have some pious activity. So even actually to come into the house of Krishna is not by mistake actually. So it's because Krishna sanctioned it. So in this material world, when we perform pious activities, we accumulate what's called agyata sukriti. So this is more pious activities, and it's by these in which we can actually ultimately gain the mercy of the Lord. So devotional service is not such a cheap thing. It's something which is after so many births, so many lifetimes, even for yogis involved in Astanga Yoga, after many births, they ultimately desire to actually, they meditate on the heart and actually then attain devotional service. So this is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, who is following in the line of Lord Chaitanya, and he has actually translated this Bhagavad Gita and what he has called as the Bhagavad Gita as it is. So it's given the message as it is in the bona fide disciplic succession. And this, what Srila Prabhupada has given us is the chanting of the Maha Mantra. And I'm not sure if anyone can tell me the meaning of the Maha Mantra. What does it mean when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra? Okay. So it means we're saying, my dear Lord, please engage me in your devotional service. So this is a prayer, and ultimately it said that this is a prayer that never ends. So it's not that we chant the Maha Mantra just as a means to an end, because when we chant the Maha Mantra, we're asking to actually engage in our constitutional position, which is an eternal servitor of the Lord. So it's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, Mame Vamso Jiva Loke Jiva Buddha Sanatana, so that we're all eternal fragmental parts and parcels of Krishna. And so this is our duty as eternal servitors of the Lord, is to actually engage in that. And due to this age of Kali Yuga, when we're all so conditioned by material nature, and we're all very much fallen souls, this is actually the Lord's mercy. So it said, like a parent, if you have a child who needs more attention, then they'll give him more attention. And so this is like us in this age of Kali Yuga. whereby life is naturally more challenging than previous ages, and it can be, we have 100 years max, and there's so many things to do in life, such as um, study, work, and so on. That life can be very fast paced. So this is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, is that he has given us this Maha Mantra, whereby it can be chanted anywhere, place and circumstance, and it's just very easy and very natural for anybody. Yeah, yes, Woo. Yes, yeah. Yes. Yes, thank you. Sorry. Okay. Yes, yeah. So that, yes, that is this mantra is it's it's a what Srila Prabhupada describes as a transcendental sound vibration that is directly from the spiritual world. So naturally, when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we become transcendently situated. So naturally, when we engage in devotional service, we're automatically transcendently situated. So that means that we're no longer affected by the material energy. So ultimately, by that, the goal is to actually constantly chant the Maha Mantra, which is to naturally, always be engaged in devotional service. And so the thing is that you don't have to renounce the whole world, become a sannyasi, join the temple, and so on. The thing is that uh, naturally one can have their 9 to 5 job, and there may be no seemingly difference between one who isn't actually a devotee of Krishna externally and in their from what can be observed. But for example, one who works the same 9 to 5 job, maybe just doing this for their own sense enjoyment, but the other one is actually dovetailing everything for Krishna and for Krishna's satisfaction. So that's the difference, is that one is actually becoming entangled more and more in sinful activities, which naturally means that their consciousness is becoming lower and lower, and more and more degraded in that sense. And then the other is actually becoming free from that, and um, ultimately trying to awaken their natural loving propensity for the Lord. So that's the difference, is that one is actually gaining the the higher fruits in life, while the other is simply not. So that's the thing what Sri Prabhupada mentioned. For example, why do people why aren't so many people all of a sudden just taking to Krishna consciousness? And the thing is that people don't like restrictions and so on like that, because the material energy is so strong. But Sri Prabhupada said, if you, for example, in a shopping market, there will be like a diamond shop or jewelers, but naturally there'll be like a very small amount of people who will actually take the diamonds. So that's one analogy that he gave. But naturally, Lord Chaitanya's movement is meant for everyone, and by the continually preaching, performing Harinam and so on, that people will by the Lord's mercy, hopefully that they can actually awaken to the consciousness, and everyone can actually realize the benefit of Krishna consciousness, so they can actually all actually awaken uh, their higher sentiments and so on. Yes, Wu. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Boo. That's the thing too. That I said that the golden rule is to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So every other rule is subservient to this. And yes, for example, yeah, naturally chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is remembering Krishna. And even, some uh, devotees, they chanted so much. I think it was one of Srila Prabhupada's god brothers, is that, I'm not sure if it was a doctor or something, that they put they listened to his heart and they could hear the mantra just resonating continuously. So that's, of course, that's the very, the highest stages, but um, ultimately it's to be in a state where we always remember Krishna. And it said, Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Haya Andikara, Yahan Krishna, Dahan Nahi Maya Ardikara, is that Krishna is just like the sun, and Maya is just like darkness. If the sun is present, what question can there be of darkness? So naturally, when Krishna is present, there's no darkness. So, so I wonder if there's any more questions before we conclude for today's class. Yes. Yes. So the word, transcendental. So basically, we're in this material world, and it's a world of duality. So it's both good and bad, and so on like that. So to transcend means just to transcend the duality of this world. For example, like I mentioned earlier, happiness and sadness, and so on like that. Joy and suffering, that we can just transcend these, and so this is to be transcendentally situated, is whereby we're we're on the transcendental platform, which is to be engaged in Krishna's service. So, and as I mentioned, there's other processes whereby those who can actually transcend the modes of material nature. There's three types of transcendentalists, which are the Gyanis, the Yogis, and the Bhaktas. But the pinnacle is the Bhakti Yoga, and ultimately all the other transcendentalists that's what they will eventually aspire for, and by Krishna's mercy attain. So to transcend is to be in the highest sense in our swarup, our eternal position as a servitor of Krishna, and to constantly be in that. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So I think we should conclude for today's class today, and we'll have a Gaur Arti just in a few minutes. So thank you very much, and thank you very much. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki, Bhagavad Gita ki, Jai.
It'd be like the other day. That was nice when we both did it together. Yeah. Give it to her.
Lila Juggernaut.
मैं हमारा enjoy it मैं तब
Lila Juggernaut. He said give my regards to.
मैं enjoy you, but I didn't say it because I thought my hand was the right corner. Oh, good. I phoned you to tell you I must be so much. Jenny. Krishna. Sorry. One of you. What time is it? How long? Should I just sing? Jaya Goranitai, Jaya Goranitai. Shri Shri Radha Gokula Nand ki, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Jaya Gaurachande Arati ka shobha. आरती का शोभा जानवी तत्माने बाजे करताला शंखा बाजे गंगा बाजे बाजे करताला माधुरा वेदंगा बाजे परापर साला माधुरा वेदंगा बाजे परापर साला शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे माधु माधु माधुर बाजे शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे माधु माधु माधुर बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे नित्य गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौरा हरि बोल नित्य गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौरा हरि बोल बाहु कोटि चंद्र जिने वदन उज्ज्वला गाला देसे बना माला कोरे जलमाला सेवा सुख नारदा प्रेमे गदगादा भक्ति विनोदा देखे कोरा रसखारा जय जय गौरा चंदे आरती का शोभा पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी यति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादिशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरि गौर भक्तवृंद Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki, Shri Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaura Pramanande Hari Hari Bol. If everyone would like to take a seat, we will just sing a short prayer to Lord Nishingadev now.
Namaste Narashringaya. Namaste Narashringaya. Pralada Lada Daine. Hiranyakashipur Vakshaha. Shilatangkana Kalaye. Ito na shringo parato na shringo. Ito na simha parato na shringo. Yato yato yamitato na shringo. Bahe na shingari daye na shingo. Nara shringamadim sharanam prapadye. Nara shringamadim sharanam prapadye. Tava karakamalavare nakam adbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu tanu bringam keshavadrita narahari rupa jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare jai jagadisha hare tava karakamalavare nakam adbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu tanu bringam keshavadrita narahari rupa jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare jaya jagadisha hare jaya Nashingadev jaya Nashingadev jaya Nashingadev jaya Nashingadev jaya bhakta prahlad jaya bhakta prahlad jaya bhakta prahlad jaya bhakta prahlad jaya jaya Prabhupada 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 jaya Srila Prabhupada श्री श्री लक्ष्मी नृसिंहदेव भगवान की, प्रहलाद महाराज की, श्री श्री गौर निताय भगवान की, शिला प्रभुपाद की, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama